Thanks for joining us on 9 News Plus. I'm Chris Bianchi. Earlier this month, the Black journalists at 9 News got together to have an open conversation about their experiences in the industry. They had tough conversations about tokenism and limited representation, and they also shared laughs about code switching and hair care. Things many Black people in most industries can relate to, and things those of us who are not Black may not even know are happening. Here's a portion of those conversations.
I'm Ashton, and my title is Digital Video Producer.
It was like Best Friends Day or something like that. And the 9 News Instagram page had posted like, oh, how are you celebrating Best Friends Day? And the picture was 2 Black girls holding hands and laughing. And I remember thinking, oh, there's Black girls outside of Black history, like a Black history.
Girl, you giving them too much credit for that.
The underlying issue of what really made me upset at the fact that that made me happy is that we're never featured as human beings. There's never a like Father's Day, little black man, or black man, little black boy. It's always white. Everything is white. The default always has to be white. And then if it's not, then you have to add black in front of it. Why is this so striking to me? Why is it not normal for me to see Best Friends Day or whatever the dumb holiday was and see 2 Black faces that had nothing to do with Kwanzaa or Black History Month? Because those are the only times we're used.
And it matters, and it makes a difference. Like something I did years ago, I started doing whenever I needed an expert for a story. And it wouldn't have to be, a story in a Black neighborhood or even an issue that's affecting a minority community. I need a lawyer, doctor, paleontologist. I would always take the extra step and find a person of color, find a Black person if I could, because that might be the only time, the only moment certain people in our audience get to see a Black doctor. So to be able to see it on the news and not in a mugshot, like those small things that we're talking about, I think really reverberate in the community and make a difference.
There's one in each department.
It's
one anchor, one reporter, one meteorologist, one digital, one photog.
Yeah.
Rachel and Jamal.
I mean, this is rare. Two
One, and 2. We're the anomalies.
You have to be able to have diverse voices on every shift, and I think that's where, and on every level.
If you're watching those like get home from work, turn on the TV news hours, who's there? Including reporters, anchors, producers, meteorologists, anybody? Like, nothing.
9 is okay with just having one Black reporter. I'm on mornings. I don't care if the viewers don't see this one Black reporter at 4 and 5 or 6 or at 9 and 10. At least, hey, we can say at 9 and 10 we got Alex on the desk or we got Lauren during weather. So it's just enough. We got the one. We're checking the box.
That checking a box thing is real. Being such a segmented piece of talent as a meteorologist, I know, and we were just having this conversation the other day, I don't even apply to stations if they already have a Black meteorologist.
Yeah.
Because that box is already checked.
Yep.
I explain that to my white counterparts, and they're like, well, still apply. You think they're going to have 2 Black girls on there?
I only look at stations that don't have Black males.
Yeah. It angers me when people assume that I have a job, that I have whatever job I have because they needed a Black person on staff. Because I'm limited and crossed out from so many other jobs because they already have that one Black person on staff. If I was able to go through life and not have to worry about who already works there, being a determining factor on whether or not I can even be entertained as at this position, it's far more limiting than anyone tries to claim advantageous for us.
Tokenism is how we get here. Like, that's just facts. Yeah. But what I've done in, my 15, almost 16-year career in this industry is just realize, okay, that may have gotten me in the door, but I'm not going to be a token for you. You wanted a Black report? Oh, you got a Black one, okay? Because the stories that I'm going to do, the light that I want to shine on issues that nobody else in this building are covering, that's what you got here. If you just wanted someone to sit pretty and be your Black face, that's not me. You chose wrong.
I would say to the Black community that they can write us, and if they have a story that they think will be great, because guess what? If I see something I like, I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to go to the managers and say, this one's good. Let's do this. So I think they should feel confident and comfortable. If they have a story, let us know, because we want to share it.
What's that term? Ashton, you're going to know this term. Where, when you're a little Oh my God.
Code switch?
Code. That's it. That's it. Do you find?
I find I'll do that. I'll walk by Ashton, you know, we have a little conversation, then I walk by my desk and I'm like, is that Darius?
This is, you know, too. I say hi, everyone. The Darius gonna. We are people. I'm gonna walk past Lauren and be like, girl, what's good? I'm gonna come past Alex and say the same thing. I'm gonna come past them and mess with them. And I'm gonna see Rachel at 5 o'clock in the morning, or she's gonna be in my ear and I'm gonna be like, mic check 1 2 1 2, what's good? And she's gonna respond.
I say, what up, what up?
Exactly.
Like, I don't do that.
Like, to have someone that you can do that with, just to be yourself with, and not have to feel like hey, mic check 1 2, boom, boom, boom. Like, I can be myself with her. I can be myself with a lot of the people who I am with a lot of my friends, who I am with my family. And I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with code switching, but at the end of the day, I think you have to think about the toll that takes on the person who has to code switch. You knowing that you have to walk into a room and you can't be yourself. You have to be who this person expects you to be or who they would want you to be.
I think it's a safety mechanism though for us.
The whole basis of why code switching exists is just for a white majority audience to believe that you know what you're talking about. You have to say it in a certain way. We have to look a certain way. We have to talk a certain way. We have to drive a certain car. We have to live in a certain area just to be accepted as deserving or knowledgeable.
I mean, y'all see these waves. I don't care who you are, I'm gonna wear my do-rag. I walk in here in the morning with my do-rag on and I'm the only black person in the room aside from Jamal and Rachel. Who gonna say something? You need me to look a certain way, this is what it takes for me to look a certain way.
And I also feel like a little bit like damned if you do, damned if you don't. On the same day, I got one email from someone who said, you know, I just hate the way you talk, you're so prim and proper, you're trying to be white, like I wish you would be yourself. The very next email was, you are just, you know, a little too ghetto, I don't like your slang, I wish you would be more professional on air. Like, so.
Which one is it?
Exactly, and you can't please everybody. So all I can do is be myself, you know, but it took me a long time to learn that, because I used to get those emails and they would like hurt me to my core.
There's a lot of watering yourself down to be palatable.
Yep.
And that's what you have to do. You have to find this line of staying black enough to be your authentic self, but then becoming white enough for them to be able to digest you. Just last week, I got an email saying, "You're so unprofessional, when is Danielle Grant coming back?" It reminds me that I need to steer back to my authentic self instead of this packaged self that I've worked so hard at, because the packaged self is not always gonna win. Why am I being somebody else when that's still not winning? Might as well go back to me.
Feeling like, okay, like I can do this. So like that experience, like I carried with me like throughout my whole career.
I love that you brought up 2020, because did y'all all feel that shift?
Yeah. Everybody cares about DEI and inclusion.
That shift changed. I think it was George Floyd and the protests and the racial, awakening, the reckoning, if you want to call it. It really shifted the way black stories are viewed, because now it's not something we'll make time for. If we have the time, we know we need it. And it's sad that it had to happen in that way, but I feel like now, I don't know if I should feel grateful, but I certainly know that I'm able to tell stories I wasn't able to tell 2 years ago.
Sometimes the only black person in the newsroom sometimes. So if something would come up, all eyes would be looking at me like, hey, like, what would this make you feel uncomfortable and things like that? And I'm like, I appreciate that you're like asking for my opinion, but also I'm not the mouthpiece for a whole race. I can't speak to how you're gonna feel about it, how you're gonna feel about it. I can tell you how I feel about it, but that's not how everyone that's watching is gonna feel.
That's why I feel like the onus is on us. I mean, not to say, I think being a journalist there's pressures all around, but when you're the only person in editorial meeting, I'm the only black person that works the night, okay? I have to, I feel like my eyes have to be everywhere. I have to look at not only my stories, but the story, my colleague did, and be like, ooh, that language was problematic, or this made me feel a type of way. You know what I mean? It's like you have to be a gatekeeper too. You have to, it's a lot of pressure.
I think people listen, but they have bad intentions and don't know how to treat people of color. And I also think that there's almost no regard for the experience that people of color may go through. Like, you can't understand what it's like to walk in our shoes. And I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes, and I think that's where a lot of the feelings from the people of color at 9 feel that we aren't valued or we aren't appreciated or we aren't listened to, because no one can really understand us or tries to understand us.
We are not a monolith. Like, as black people, like if you have one black friend, that one black friend cannot speak for an entire race and culture of people who have different backgrounds and experiences. We're all from different places in this room, and like, I just don't know how to bring that home any more than like we're not all the same. And that's why so many of us are needed.
I'm Rachel. I'm also a morning news producer.
Darius, morning reporter. I think I got into this business growing up on the south side of Chicago. You see a lot of things, and I was also raised by my grandparents. They kept the news on in the morning, in the evening, all the time. I would go to school in the morning, GMA was on. I would come back home from school and the local news was on that evening. So it was just always instilled in me, and I think that's where I kind of came to love it.
Grandparents love the news, don't they?
Yes.
It's always on.
Still do.
I've always loved cameras and the lights and everything like that, and I really love telling stories. And so at least like as a producer, I get to tell people stories, and I get to go out on my own and say, hey, you know, I like this story, can I do this? And it's really easy to do that here. So my way is just telling the stories.
A lot of people hear like news producer and you think, you know, you're just in there putting stories in, but you actually go out and seek your own content. Like, you're producing stories that our viewers see.
That's really the fun part of it. You know, I could easily just come every day, do what I have to do and go, but it's so much more than that.
I said I was going to go to school, be an entertainment reporter, and that was it. And then one day I read an article about Ariana Grande's ponytail, and I said, I don't want this to be my life. I love that ponytail, but I didn't want that to be my life. And then I realized, oh, okay, I don't want to be an entertainment reporter. I just want to tell news in an entertaining way. So that's what drew me into journalism.
I fell into weather, and I stay here because I feel so many people need to see a black woman in this role and know that this can be occupied by a black woman. I stay because I can count on one hand the amount of female black meteorologists I've ever seen on TV. That part. And I feel, since I'm here, it's my duty to stay here and to continue to occupy this space for people looking to see what careers exist.
My hair's naturally curly. Surprise! I'm black, everyone. And I had like a curly bun on the top of my head. Get back to my desk. It's never fails to get an email when I get back to my desk. And a man had written me, I wish you would have combed your hair today. You look sloppy. Ooh. The very next email, though, was from a mom, and it brought me to tears. And she was like, my daughter was watching you on the news today, and she said, Mommy, she looks like me. Her hair looks like my hair. And it just, I mean, that it's everything. You know what I mean? It's so small. It's so small. Like, I literally just didn't have time to comb my hair that day and put it in a curly bun. I didn't straighten it. But, like, just always know on the other side of, like, that nasty email, whether you get an email or not, know that, like, there are people who look like us watching, and sometimes young people. And it just, that's why we're here. Like, that's why I'm here.
In the time that you've been here, has it been a year yet?
It's been a little over a year.
A little over a year. What has Denver shown you in a year?
Black culture is very different. I feel like you have to be very diligent in cultivating black community here, whereas in Brooklyn it's just like very much more like natural, in your face. You're surrounded by it. You don't have to really think about it because like your friend circle encompasses that. Whereas like here in Denver, you have to be like, okay, like I need to develop my black community.
When I first moved here, I lived in Cherry Creek, and days would go by, days, plural, and I wouldn't see another black person. And it just, you know, it becomes like your norm and your regular, and then I was like, why is this affecting me? Why does this place not feel like home yet? You know what I mean? And so it took, to your point, like actually having to go out and seek. I'm an AKA. I was like, okay, where are my AKAs at? You know, I mean, seriously, like that's what I had to do to find people who looked like me, and that kind of changed my perspective on Denver, but it was hard at first.
You know, while I get maybe some mean emails, I can tell you like, black auntie, black granny, that like, you have a church home, you know, all the time. Do you come? Can you come here? And like, and you know, I laugh, but you know, that's their way of welcoming you, because in you know, in the black community, the church is such a staple. It's such a it's a gathering place where even if maybe you don't go for the message or believe the message, you go for the community.
I've been able to find my community that's at my barber shop. I hang out with them. I spent Christmas with my barber and his family, and I literally talk to my barber as if he's like a second dad. Being a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and I think also going to an HBCU, people will reach out, oh wait, my son went to Morehouse, or oh, I went to Spell House a long time ago, and I see somebody else in the market, or oh, you're just another black person at 9 News. You know, if you need anything, boom, boom, boom. And while that community is very, very small, you do feel appreciated and you do feel valued.
If anyone ever wonders, like, why do you need a black community? Well, because you need to be in a group of people who you know see you and understand you. It's like speaking your own language, where I don't always want to speak this other language. Sometimes I just want to relax, let my hair down, and just talk and sit back.
Take your wig off, do all that.
And it's that. But it's where even that kind of thing where you say that to a white guy, a what? A wig? Where?
That's a wig.
What's a what?
They think my do-rag is a skull cap.
But, you know, and it's just like, with your own people, it's just a level of comfort. It's our own language where you feel better understood without having to explain yourself.